Well, we have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to jump right into it. First, I want to give you my instant review. I love this story. I love how it looks. I love the feel. You all did the heavy lifting work. I only had to watch it. You had to film, and that's what we're going to talk about. Ben, I'm going to start with you. How do you get ready for a role like this? I mean, training-wise, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I think we were led by our Bible, which was, the books by Leigh Bardugo. I think we all had like little lists of our sort of dream dialogue and lines from the books that we wanted to kind of get into the show. But, once we landed in Budapest, which was where we filmed the show, we got into the stunt training and the horse riding training, which is so much fun. And then the costuming, which helps you with the characters so much, which is so stunning in this show. And then we kind of got into like looking at talking with the directors and the showrunners about, different performances in other movies that we maybe could draw from these characters. And yeah, so it was a busy time in our pre-production.
Jessie, the entire world is waiting for this series, including myself. Tons of people excited. How would you describe your character, Alina, to those fans that are getting ready to watch this?
Alina she's a very complex person. She's had a real life. And I hoped that we were able to capture that. She's an incredibly strong person, and she's got this innate power that you see from, Kaylin, who plays young Alina. She has this strength to her. So we know that Alina is very powerful, but she's also been completely, downtrodden by life. She's been dragged through it a lot, and that's made her gentle and, wary and things. So she's a really complex person, and she really learns to understand herself and her power and her responsibility as the show goes on. So she really does go from being someone who doesn't know who they are to someone who understands the extent of their responsibility and their power. So she's a really interesting character.
And one of the themes of this show, at least that's what I picked up. Thank you for that answer. Fantastic. Archie, you're in costume. You're looking around at the set. It looks like a massive production. What's going through your head when you see this coming to life and you're a part of it?
I mean, yeah, it was incredible. That first moment of stepping out onto the first set we got to see was the army barracks, or the first army tent, the first army camp. And I remember just thinking, wow, this is like all for us. Like, we're all part of this epic fantasy series. I mean, there was like, the attention to detail was incredible. They'd like shipped in tons of sand, that every tent had something inside. Like, the detail was just incredible. And then there's us, like, in the middle of it all, a bit of a pinch yourself moment, but one I'm so grateful for, and yeah, I loved every minute of it.
I was waiting for this room. I'm serious. You all, I'm calling this the mischievous room.
Oh, that's good. Like that. Yeah, we'll take that.
Freddie, I'm going to start with you. The fantasy genre, the storyline, your characters, and I'm talking to you three, were there points where you all, as you were acting these out and filming, where you're like, this is wicked. It seems like you had a great time doing this, but you had to be going through your head. You were like, this is just wicked.
Definitely. I mean, there's some sequences which were kind of sort of pinch me moments where you're sort of looking around and you realize that actually a whole bunch of people have got together and built a city. This city which someone wrote in a book all those years ago, and they've put such incredible detail into it. There is actual steam rising from the drain pipes, and it's actually raining, and there's people bustling around, and it's kind of amazing, because you're like, well, there's no acting required.
Amita, how did you get ready for this role? The knives, there had to be some training. You pull knives out of places, right? You have them all over. You have them all over, girl. Tell me how you got ready.
I didn't have any professional training with the knives. I was just gifted these 14 beautiful engraved knives. Our costume designer, Wendy, she said, we need to fit these many on. And I was like, how are we going to do that? But the trick was to kind of reduce the size. And each one of them had their own place. Some place you see and some place you don't. The physical training was just amazing. I'd never felt so empowered, I guess.
I love the smirk, that your character, the facial expressions that you make. I like to gamble on football games. So I was particularly drawn to your character, and I'm not ruining anything, spoilers here, but what mentally, how did you prepare to play Jesper?
Jesper, how we meet him is kind of looking at all the opportunities. Everything is a fun possibility, whether it's gambling or whether it's crime or whether it's someone he finds attractive or whether it's getting into a fight and really shooting off. Like, I think I just got to look around at all of the amazing things that were around us and just respond off of those things and get excited about it. Like, we all nerded out about all of it as we were making it. So I think, I just got to be a part of that magic.
Leigh and Eric, I just want to start off this interview by saying what a fantastic series. Wow. I love it. And so, Leigh, my first question for you is, where did this all begin in your mind? What inspired this story? There's so much to talk about. It's just awesome.
Well, I'm so glad you feel that way. And we poured a lot of love into this. So that is very cool to hear. This really started for me with a question. What if darkness was a place? In fantasy, darkness is often this kind of metaphor, darkness falls across the land. And I wanted to ask what happened when you made that literal. And as soon as I asked that question, I kept getting a lot more questions, where did this darkness come from? What if the monsters you imagined there were real? What would they look like? How would they have evolved after years in the dark? What kind of power would it take to create them? What kind of power would it take to fight them? And so that really is where the idea for the Shadowfold began and where Alina Starkov began.
Eric, this is a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, the entire world is waiting for this series, including myself. What do you say to fans as they prepare to watch this and binge it?
I would say that, like, in the creation of this, my concern was capturing the feeling that I had reading the books and making sure that I could carry that over to the show. That's sort of like the spirit of what the books were to me. And then the details changed due to the fact that they will in an adaptation. It wouldn't bother me as much knowing that we still held on to the feelings.
Leigh, I'm going to give you the final word on this. Tell me what it was like for you. Were you able to visit any of the sets, watch the production? As you look around and see your characters walking around, I see Eric nodding, so that's good. But were you able, Leigh, when you see these characters come off the pages, become life, what were you thinking?
Initially I was really afraid of the way that these actors were going to replace the images I had of these characters in my head, because once that's gone, it can never be gotten back. But instead I found that watching them on set, watching them interact, watching the way that gestures came to life, unexpected expressions, interactions, it was a kind of alchemy that I never could have expected. And to me, that was the most beautiful surprise of this whole thing. The spectacle is great. The costumes are great. The effects are incredible. But seeing those characters walk and talk and interact with one another, I just never could have imagined it.
Eric, this is a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, the entire world is waiting for this series, including myself. What do you say to fans as they prepare to watch this and binge it?
Buckle up.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I would say that, like, in the creation of this, my concern was capturing the feeling that I had reading the books and making sure that I could carry that over to the show. That's sort of like the spirit of what the books were to me. And then the details changed due to the fact that they will in an adaptation. It wouldn't bother me as much knowing that we still held on to the feelings.
Leigh, I'm going to give you the final word on this. Tell me what it was like for you. Were you able to visit any of the sets, watch the production? As you look around and see your characters walking around, I see Eric nodding, so that's good. But were you able, Leigh, when you see these characters come off the pages, become life, what were you thinking?
Initially I was really afraid of the way that these actors were going to replace the images I had of these characters in my head, because once that's gone, it can never be gotten back.
But instead, I found that watching them on set, watching them interact, watching the way that gestures came to life, unexpected expressions, interactions, it was a kind of alchemy that I never could have expected. And to me, that was the most beautiful surprise of this whole thing. The spectacle is great. The costumes are great. The effects are incredible. But seeing those characters walk and talk and interact with one another, I just never could have imagined it.
Well, congratulations to you both. I really appreciate your time today. And I've only seen the first 5, and Netflix, I begged, send me the rest, and I'm going to finish those in the next day or so. And I watched it with my mom, and we both were just like loving it. So thanks for everything.
I'm so glad.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.